The House will continue on the 11th order of business. The House has before it House Bill 1262, which has been read. Mr. Chief Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, House Bill 1262, introduced by Representative Kempenich and other House and Senate sponsors. House Bill 1262 is a bill for an act to amend and reenact sections 54-03-02, 54-03-02.1, and 54-35-16 of the North Dakota Century Code, relating to reconvened regular sessions of the Legislative Assembly in even-numbered years and to provide an effective date. Mr. Speaker, this has a fiscal note prepared by the Legislative Council, and their analysis indicates that there will be a decrease in general fund expenditures and appropriations for the 2013-2015 biennium and an increase of $2,275,000 in the general fund appropriation and expenditures for the 2015-2017 biennium. Mr. Speaker, your Government and Veterans Affairs Committee recommends a do not pass on House Bill 1262 by a vote of 10 yeas, 3 nays, 1 absent, and 0 not voting. Mr. Speaker.
Representative Lauser.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members of the Assembly, the Government and Veterans Affairs Committee recommends a do not pass on House Bill 1262 by a vote of 10-3. House Bill 1262 seeks to address the regularly convened session of the Legislative Assembly in North Dakota. The bill proposes a session of no more than 45 natural days during odd number years and no more than 35 natural days in the even number of years, and during the even number no earlier than January 2nd, no later than February 28th. The committee heard testimony on the need to debate this consideration. Those in favor of a do not pass raised concerns ranging from public input to the effectiveness of the interim committees and the studies and the work that's done by those committees. Also, it was discussed that during the first week of any regular session, and especially during the final 2 weeks of any regular session, where conference committees are doing their work, the time available for hearings and action on bills and budgets is already limited. Limitations would be even greater in an every year scenario, considering the preparation and conference committee work necessary. It was felt the current interim committee work flushes out the details of some legislation being considered, and the current system is working effectively. There's no indication that the number of bills, measures, or studies would be decreased, and finally, no data was given to provide evidence that an annual legislative session would be more efficient for our state. This potentially could not be necessary in statute, as currently we are only required 80 days every 2 years, and further, the governor has the ability and the authority to call special sessions under circumstances deemed necessary. Mr. Speaker, the GVA committee asked the members press the red button on this bill, but it's our suspicion that some of the members may want to press the white button first. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any discussion? Representative Kempenich.
Well, I wasn't a member of the committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the Assembly. No, this has been around, but actually when we were down testifying that a lot of the members of the Assembly haven't seen a bill around like this. And truthfully, the way this one was structured is that we don't have to even have a bill. Basically, the Constitution says that the legislature shall convene every 2 years for no more than 80 days. So it really, a bill isn't necessary, but the rules need to be changed. One of the things that got me going, though, on this issue, and I've voted against this in the past when it's been brought up, but one of the things was last special session. If we wouldn't have had a redistricting session last year, this would really been chaotic this session, or we'd have been called into a special session at some point just to address some of the growing concerns in our area. But one of the things that does come to mind when I was kind of researching this of what other states are doing, and basically North Dakota and Montana are really the only true biennial sessions left in the country. There's four states that are doing it, including North Dakota, but Texas and Nevada run pretty much, they're pretty much a year-round state. Texas, for example, runs 140 days is their regular session, and then they usually call a special session, 30-day special session, and then they usually have another 30 or 60, usually it's 30 days, and like this last year, they called 2 special sessions last year. And Nevada just calls, they have a 120-day regular session for the biennial, but then they call special sessions continuously throughout the next 2 years. So, you know, Montana and North Dakota are really the only ones following these rules anymore of what biennial sessions are. And the thing is that when we leave here, you know, we spend up to 80 days that we have, and we've been bumping that number here the last few sessions, and you really question what when we leave. We put a lot of bills in place, especially appropriations, that the budget section will have to address during the interim. And for having one longer, and truthfully, these numbers were just arbitrary that were put in there. You know, if we had like a 20-day, and it's kind of like Wyoming's doing, is they meet for 45 days and then they have a 20-day session. But if North Dakota looked at doing like even like a 60-day and a 20-day session to try to keep up with what's going on nationally and within the state, that I think we should keep looking at what we're doing here as far as these sessions go. And I think it truthfully, you know, it was brought up with the interim committees, and it's been my experience over the course of the time I've been up here. Most interim, you'll get a lot of information, but most interim bills don't fare very well in the regular session. So, you know, you gather information, and I don't see that changing, that you probably wouldn't have, you'd have interim committees, but you probably would cut down on the bill load, because if there was some good ideas, legislators would probably be more fresh in their mind of what they heard than what they heard 18 months ago on it. So that's the reason this is in here. I hope to see a few green lights on this just to show that there is some interest in looking at something different. And change is hard, so thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Steiner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll just add a couple things. I think if you've looked at how our budget has grown over the last 3-4 years, and if you read the papers, and there's a lot of talk about we're in unprecedented times, and maybe government is going to be the slowest one to change here, but we have a lot of new people coming to our state, and we're going to need to be able to be nimble, to be flexible, and to react to that. And so what happens under our current system, and Representative Kempenich made a good case of that in committee, and I don't know if that came through what he was just speaking about here, is that our agencies and our governor have a little more power under our current system, see, because when budget section came in December, they had to approve some overtime hours because the Highway Patrol had no choice, because we don't meet, and there were some requirements that they had to get some people out on the road. And so, as Representative Kempenich had referred to, when we had our redistricting, we took care of some really critical issues. Our constituents have to wait until we get together. Now, look at the age of us among here. And I personally, this to meet every year would be detrimental for me personally, I have to say. And I'm going to support it, but it is hard for some of us who work full-time to think about coming in every year. But the one thing I wanted to leave with you is, and I know where the bill is going, but think about if we get the budget wrong, if the powers that be would think about maybe a 2-day technology-driven session where those of you who are in California, Florida, and Arizona could come in electronically by FaceTime or Skype, and we could fix the budget over maybe 1 or 2 days if we don't get it quite right, so our constituents don't have to wait. So it's just, let's use technology if we don't go with adjusting the budget every year. So just a thought to think about. Thank you.
Representative Glasheim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the Assembly, as a traditionalist, I've long opposed making this kind of a change. But I've got to say that the pace of change in North Dakota over the last 2-3 years has changed my mind. And also the increase in the powers of the budget section, where we have almost a mini legislature meeting to deal with questions that couldn't be resolved during the regular session, have also changed my mind. So I'm reluctantly going to support this measure. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Casper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the Assembly. Problem. Who's got the problem? We don't. As Representative Kempenich said, we don't need this bill to have annual sessions. If we want to have annual sessions, we can call ourselves into annual session. I'd like to point out a number of things to the Assembly that I know you're aware of, but just to remind you, there's various organizations and rating agencies around the United States that vote North Dakota the #1 run state in the country. There's a reason for that, I believe, and that's because how we do our government. We have an assembly that comes and does our job, and we do it well, and we get out of here. The idea of an annual session, I think, would cause a waste of time, so to speak, and I don't mean it in a sense that we don't do important things here, but we all know that when we get here the first week, we're starting up and we're revving the engine before we get going, and at the end, we have 8 or 10 days where we have to wind things down. If we did that on an annual session, we'd be losing about a month, whereby we only lose half of that right now. So, Mr. Speaker, members of the Assembly, I don't think we have a problem. Talking about the budgets for a moment, we're at the height of our crisis, so to speak, with the dollars and the needs in the development area in western North Dakota. I think we've got a pretty good handle on it now. We're spending a lot of money, but we're addressing issues. I think we're doing well. The people of the United States recognize that our government runs wonderfully. The people of our state think our government runs wonderfully. I hope that we have a lot of red votes, Mr. Speaker.
Further discussion. Representative Maragos.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would Representative Casper yield to a question?
Representative Casper, would you yield to a question?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I will.
Representative Maragos.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Casper. You said that we could call ourselves into annual session if we wanted to. If we continue to go the 78 or 79 days of our allotted 80, how do you propose to affect that?
Mr. Speaker, and Representative Maragos, we'd have to get everything done in one day, and maybe that would be a wise thing to do. The fact of the matter is, this Assembly, at the end of this Assembly, could decide to have annual sessions through a resolution. So, Mr. Speaker, members of the Assembly, we're doing a good job the way we are. Let's keep things the way they are.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the House has before it for final consideration House Bill 1262. The clerk will open the key and you may record your vote. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Clerk key will be closed and the clerk will take the record. Final vote shows 30 yea, 62 nay, 2 absent and not voting. House Bill 1262 is declared failed.